Oh gosh, it really does look like it's been my spring break, doesn't it? How's it going, you guys? My name is Eric and welcome to Out of the Groove. Before I get started with today's episode, I want to shout out TopShelfDiecast.com again for sending me another really awesome custom-made Top Shelf and Out of the Groove custom paint scheme diecast car. Get a load of this. This thing is awesome. Big thanks to him for sending me this. If you're in the market for some new, kind of hard to find diecasts, check out TopShelfDiecast.com and use the code Estepp when checking out. It helps me out a ton and costs you nothing. So thanks for doing that. Thanks for checking them out. Shout out again, TopShelfDiecast.com. Really cool deal here. Also, technically it's not a sponsorship, but I forgot to show this off in a video. I found it in my P.O. box like a month ago. So shout out to Jackson for sending me this super awesome throwback 2002 Roush Racing like trading card. Really cool deal here. You got Mark Martin, Jeff Burton, Matt Kenseth, Kurt Busch, the Fab Four. Yeah, back in 2002. Really cool thing to see. So thank you for sending this, Jackson. Anyway, you guys, we're here to talk about the Martinsville race that just ended earlier this afternoon. Now, full disclosure, I was only able to watch the last third of the race today. I have a good reason, as you can tell by my red face and IndyCar t-shirt. I was at Circuit of the Americas the last 2 days, actually, for the IndyCar Classic. So I was there for my first ever IndyCar race. It was in town, and so I was like, I gotta go. It sucks that it lands on the Martinsville race weekend, but I've been wanting to branch out and try out watching some other motorsports just to kind of broaden my horizons. And so I was there at the IndyCar race. I'll have a couple videos, though. I've been filming the last couple days while I was there, so I'll have some videos out tomorrow and Tuesday. So it won't be for nothing. But that being said, I'm mainly just going to talk about the finish to this Martinsville race. I'm still going to put it on the Groovy gauge with some help from you guys, so stay tuned for that. And I got some other stuff to talk about, but let's go ahead and talk about the winner from today's race to start. Brad Keselowski gets his second win of the season, 6 races into the year, and Joe Gibbs Racing and Team Penske have all the wins. If we go ahead and look at the top 20 finishing results right there, yeah, this whole Joe Gibbs versus Team Penske at the top of NASCAR is backed up pretty heavily here. Chase Elliott there in second is the one outlier, but the rest of the top 5 there, Gibbs and Penske. I'll talk more about Chase Elliott in a minute. Stewart-Haas Racing's lurking not too far back either. All 4 of their cars got top 10s just outside of that top 5. You know, this kind of is just the story of the season so far. Joe Gibbs and Team Penske, top of the board. Stewart-Haas is just behind them. It's still early in the season. I'm sure that'll shake up a little bit. Maybe Stewart-Haas will catch them a little bit. Maybe Gibbs, maybe Penske will fall off. Maybe Hendrick will finally figure things out. But for right now, this top 10 finishing results, you can see there. I mean, shout out Daniel Suarez getting a good top 10. He needed one of those. And then, of course, Chase Elliott finishing second. But other than that, not too surprising of a top 10 there. I will talk about Chase Elliott a little bit, though. At the beginning of the season, before the year started, I picked Chase Elliott to win the championship this year. And while so far Hendrick Motorsports has not even shown top 10 speed on a regular basis, this was the first glimpse of really what I thought we'd see more from Chase Elliott this year. Him kind of emerging as the leader of Hendrick Motorsports. You know, Jimmy Johnson's a 7-time champion, 83-time winner, so he's kind of the leader at Hendrick. But with the last few years, and especially the fact that Chase Elliott and Alan Gustafson have worked together for a few years now, I thought this year Chase Elliott would kind of emerge as maybe the top guy out of that organization. Because yeah, him and Alan Gustafson, this is their 4th year together. You know, Jimmy Johnson and Chad Knaus are working with new people now, and over there, Alex Bowman and Greg Ives are only in their 2nd year together, so that Alan Gustafson, Chase Elliott collaboration has been going for a few years now. They're starting to learn each other pretty well, so I figured they would have more performances like this one we saw here today. But as you can see, there's one other Hendrick car. They're in Alex Bowman, they're in the top 15, but the other 2 Hendrick cars aren't even in the top 20, so Hendrick Motorsports still suck today. In fact, if not for Chase Elliott, this would have easily been probably Hendrick's worst performance of the year. Jimmy Johnson finished 24th at Martinsville. What is happening, guys? But Martinsville is definitely more of a driver track, and Chase Elliott's been really good at this place ever since he's gotten into the Cup Series. So not too surprising to see him run well like this, but for him to run down the leader late in the race and almost, you know, win the race, battling for the lead there, I mean, they only crossed the line a couple tenths apart. Didn't expect that, given the way Hendrick has performed so far this year, but a welcome sight to see Chase Elliott maybe starting to turn the corner. If Hendrick Motorsports can at least get one of their cars running good, you know, honestly, that'd be a victory at this point. Looking at the rest of this top 20, Austin Dillon there in 11th, continuing to be consistently decent. Kurt Busch, after 4 straight top 10s, you knew that streak had to end eventually, still 12th, pretty good. That's still better than I thought that team would run at the beginning of the year, so good for him. Ty Dillon in 13th. Okay, shout out Ty. That's not bad at all. Ryan Preece wins the rookie battle today, finishing 16th. Bubba Wallace, solid top 20 performance, not too bad given where that team has been recently. Kyle Larson, you know, Martinsville doesn't really suit his driving style, but I mean, I really haven't seen, other than Atlanta, I really have not seen any speed from that team so far this year, so that's a little concerning. But yeah, there's your top 20. I mentioned Jimmy Johnson, 24th. That's Gotta be disappointing. But then yeah, it's still early in the season, but we've been to a lot of different racetracks, so it's kind of surprising to me that Joe Gibbs and Team Penske are still so far ahead of everybody else. I mean, Kyle Busch has 2 wins, Hamlin's got a win, and on the Penske side, Keselowski's got 2, Logano has 1. And we've gone to super speedways, we've gone to intermediates, we've gone to short tracks now, and they're still the ones at the top. I don't know what Stewart-Haas Racing needs to do to catch up. I don't know what Chip Ganassi or Hendrick or any of those other teams need to do to catch up, but right now it's a Joe Gibbs and Penske world. Gonna be interesting to see how that plays out as the year progresses. Now, like I said, I didn't get to watch much of this race in person. I tuned in pretty early in stage 3 with about 160 laps to go. So yeah, basically the last third of the race I was able to watch. And so for my groovy gauge, I asked you guys on Twitter to kind of give me your thoughts on the race. Was Martinsville a good or a bad race? I just want to know what you guys had to say. And as you can see there, more than 400 responses, and 76% of you guys said that this race was good. And based on what I saw in the race, the bits that I watched, and what I saw on Twitter, that sounds like about what I would have expected. I'd give the final third of the race maybe a 70%, and then mixed with you guys a 76%. We'll average that out. And hey, on the groovy gauge this week, let's give the Martinsville STP 500 a 75%. A pretty good race from the sounds of it. And, you know, it's a short track race. We like short track races, but it sounds like this one was still pretty par for the course. It's amazing to me that an average short track race, like I think today was, can be still rated so much higher than an average auto club race like we saw last week, which I think most people thought wasn't that good. Thanks though, guys, for voting on that groovy gauge. I appreciate it, helping guide my opinions this week. I promise I'll be back to watching races next week. I'll be at the race next week, so I'm not gonna miss any more for a while. Now, because I didn't watch too much of the race today, I don't want this episode to go on too long because I don't really have that much else to talk about. I'll go back, watch a lot of the replays from this race, and get a better opinion before next week, but that's all I really want to talk about. I like to end these videos kind of with, like, not a lecture, but just kind of like a manifesto of sorts. And, you know, seeing all the racing that I saw at Circuit of the Americas this weekend, I saw a lot of different racing. I saw IndyCar racing, saw Stadium Super Truck racing, obviously some NASCAR racing. I saw a lot of different racing this week. Talked to a lot of different fans, for fans of IndyCar, fans of NASCAR, just in general. I started to have some interesting thoughts that I'd be curious to know what you guys think. Overall, I feel like NASCAR fans specifically need to learn to manage their expectations when it comes to races like this. Overall, just for any race, managing your expectations. Because here's the thing, kind of like I mentioned a minute ago, I feel like up to this point, 5 of the first 6 Cup races this year, I'd say have been above average. Daytona was really good. Atlanta, Las Vegas were both pretty good. ISM was decent. Auto Club was kind of lame. I think most of us agree Auto Club was kind of boring. But then today's Martinsville race was pretty good. So that's 6 races in, and I don't know, 5 of them, I'd say have been pretty good. But the problem I see with a lot of NASCAR fans, especially on social media, in this social media driven world, it's that a lot of fans expect immediate satisfaction from whatever entertainment product they're watching. And now that's sort of the blessing and also the curse of social media these days. You know, pretty much anyone anywhere can share their opinions at any time, but that also means you could see a ton of negative opinions all at once, and it could cloud your view of something. And I think this day and age, too many NASCAR fans expect every race to be edge of your seat, all-time great, just incredible action. I think a lot of fans expect most races to have finishes like the Roval last year, or like, you know, the Chicagoland race last year. Really, last year, when I think about it, had a lot of pretty good races. But here's what I'm saying, there's never been a point in NASCAR's history where, you know, every race in a season was just incredible, just like all-time great. You know, each week is better than the last. That's never happened in any sport, really, not just NASCAR. Even in the NFL, there's some great games every week, but more often than not, games are kind of forgettable. In the NFL, or in the NBA, or in baseball, or in any other racing, in IndyCar, in F1, in NASCAR. Throughout the course of an entire season, you'll have a few incredible moments where it's just like, that was an amazing race, we're going to talk about that thing for decades. But more often than not, the races are going to be kind of forgettable. And in my opinion, you need some of those kind of forgettable races because those only make the great special moments all that more incredible. Not sure if I said that correctly, but do you guys know what I mean? You need the mediocre races to help prop up the special races that we all remember for generations. So here's what I mean when I talk about expectations. You know, Daytona 500 this year, I think was pretty good. Most fans would agree. Atlanta was pretty good. I think most fans would agree. Even, you know, Las Vegas was pretty good. Above average. I think most fans would agree. And, you know, that's what I'm saying. The first 4 races this year were all above average. But when we got to Auto Club last week, the racing wasn't that great. And so what did I see on social media? It was a lot of negativity. And I feel like that kind of just cast a whole cloud over this entire week building up to Martinsville, to the point where I saw a lot of people on social media acting like, oh, thank goodness, we're going to Martinsville this week, and that's going to save the season, thank goodness. People forgetting that we'd already had 4 weeks in a row of pretty good racing. They acted like that one not-so-great Auto Club race completely overshadowed the other 4 weeks of good racing we'd had. In a 36-race NASCAR season, you're going to have a good handful of kind of forgettable, not-that-great races in any sport. you're gonna have more often than not kind of forgettable, just average events. Now I'm part of that crowd that says we should put more short tracks on the schedule because I do think that consistently short tracks provide better entertainment, better racing than intermediates or 2-milers. But even then, if we went to Martinsville 36 races a year, we'd still only have 5 or 6 all-time great races. I mean, just look at the last 3 times we've been to Martinsville in the Cup Series. Today's race, the last fall race, the great one with a great finish, and then last spring's race, which was kind of boring. If we look at the last 3 races at Martinsville even, there's only been 1 great race, and I would say that was last fall's. So even when we go to the best track, or one of, fan favorite track, Martinsville is widely considered to be one of the best, one of the most popular tracks in NASCAR. Even when we go to one of the best tracks, still, only 1 in 3 of those races are going to be outstanding and incredible and get you, have your jaw hitting the floor, get you out of your chair, that type of thing. So with all the talk about the aero package, the schedule and everything, at the end of the day, in my opinion, even if you had the perfect schedule with the perfect competition and all that, you'd still have some duds. Probably more often than you'd have thrillers, honestly. And that's what I mean when I say NASCAR fans need to learn to manage their expectations. It'll make watching each race a lot more enjoyable if you're not expecting it to turn into the Roval, around every turn. I only say this because I felt like the hype for this weekend's race at Martinsville was a lot higher than it needed to be for just an average spring short track race. Like I said, some people seem to think this was going to be the first real great race of the season or something, as if the Daytona 500 wasn't super fun, as if, none of these other tracks or other races have been fun. I get it. You may not love the intermediates. I mean, yeah, I don't love the intermediates. I like Martinsville more than most of these intermediate tracks. But to act like we haven't had any good racing this year and that Martinsville was here to save the day, come on, you guys. You don't have realistic expectations. So that's just where I'll leave it. I think NASCAR will be a lot better suited for the future if fans learn to manage their expectations. And I'm not saying that means accept mediocre racing. If we have a couple bad races in a row, we shouldn't accept that as the norm and just say, oh, well, sometimes you have bad races. I'm all for trying to change things, but the problem is when we overreact to things, I feel like the way we did at Auto Club a couple weeks ago, I feel like a lot of fans overreacted to that race. That race wasn't that great, and so people said the aero package is a failure, even though the last couple races with the aero package weren't that bad. I feel like people overreacted to Auto Club. When we overreact to things, it can create bad changes. And so that's all I want to leave it at. There can be some bad races here. You can look for changes, look for ways to change it, look for ways to improve things. We don't have to be happy with mediocre racing, but we shouldn't be upset if, one race here and there isn't amazing. Remember when NASCAR created the current playoff format a few years back? They said they were looking to create more Game 7 moments. A lot of fans gave them flack for those comments, and I'm sure a good number of those fans are also the ones complaining when one race isn't amazing. So, I'll leave it at that. Thanks everyone for watching this video. Hope you enjoyed. As always, you can follow me on Twitter or Instagram. Continue the conversation over there. You can get yourself an Out of the Groove t-shirt if you check out down by the description there. You can support me, support the show. Also, a big shout out, of course, to my Patreon supporters. Michael Harrison at Givas of the Stars, SelfishGifts.com, Mentally Defective, Cameron James, John Koblenz, Tim Shingen, Jason Arlong, Wesley Donaldson, Isaac Dennison, Mika Suzuki, iFantasyRace.com, Adam Lean, and the rest of these amazing supporters. Thank you all so much for helping support me, support the show. Like I said, I'm gonna have some IndyCar videos up in the next couple days. I'll be in Texas all 3 days, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday next weekend. So maybe I'll see some of you guys there. Thanks for the support, you guys. Hit 85,000 subscribers yesterday, so thank you guys for helping me reach that milestone. We're on that road to 100,000, which would be a dream come true. But thanks as always for the support. Thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed this video. Hope you enjoyed the race today. After my IndyCar videos the next couple days, we'll be back at it with normal Out of the Groove schedules throughout the week. So I hope you look forward to those next episodes, and I'll see you then. Have a good rest of your day, everyone.